Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Major developments in the North Korean nuclear standoff. Reports in the American media claim Pyongyang has successfully constructed a miniaturized nuclear warhead which could fit inside the type of missile it's been testing. And experts fear those missiles are capable of reaching the United States. Our foreign affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman is here. What's being said?
Well, the Washington Post is reporting tonight, and this has been corroborated by NBC News, that there is a Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, that's the intelligence agency attached to the Pentagon, which was produced on July the 28th, which says that North Korea has developed a miniature nuclear bomb which can fit inside a long-range missile. Now, there are various caveats we should attach to this. First of all, this is one intelligence agency reporting. As far as we know, it's not corroborated yet by other intelligence agencies, and we all know about mistakes that have been made over Iraq and indeed over North Korea when it comes to intelligence. The second thing to say, I think, is that the Japanese Defense Ministry is saying in its assessment that it is possible that this miniature nuclear bomb was created. It is not saying that it has been created. The third thing to say is we don't know if this miniature device has been tested underground or not. And we do know from the last long-range missile test, which took place about 10 days ago, that when the missile landed in the Sea of Japan, it melted, it burned up when it returned towards Earth. And that suggests that the North Koreans, even if they have developed this nuclear warhead, have not developed the means of delivering it to its potential target. And that could be another year, another 18 months away. We don't know. But it's certainly a development which suggests that the threat has gone up a notch.
Jonathan Rugman.
It seems as if the world tonight might have reached a disturbing crossroads long feared by defence departments and intelligence agencies across the globe. We've known for some time that North Korea has had both intercontinental missiles and nuclear technology. What it had failed to do was to connect the two. But tonight, reports from both the United States and Japan suggest the North Koreans have finally managed to produce a nuclear warhead small enough to fit into a missile. It has often been said that should we reach this point, any American president would have to act. President Trump did promise fire and fury like the world has never seen tonight if North Korea were to threaten the United States. But the bigger question, perhaps, is whether Mr. Trump will eventually conclude actions speak louder than words.
President Trump's public declarations on North Korea have been measured. Today, that all changed with an extraordinarily blunt warning.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before.
This was Kim Jong-un showing off his miniaturized nuclear warhead last March. Then it was seen as a hollow boast, not any longer. The Washington Post today quoting from a leaked document dated July the 28th. The intelligence community assesses North Korea has produced nuclear weapons for ballistic missile delivery, to include delivery by intercontinental ballistic missiles. North Korea has repeatedly threatened to annihilate its arch-enemy. This latest propaganda video showing Washington's Capitol building within reach of their missiles. Now that seems close to reality. The tougher economic sanctions passed days ago, too little, too late.
This wasn't going to stop our North Korea problem. What this is going to do is send a very strong message and a united message. It was a strong day for the United States. It was a strong day for the United Nations, because what you had was the entire international community tell Kim to stop.
But it hasn't stopped him. Instead, 2 successful missile tests in just over a month, now seemingly topped off with the development of a small nuclear warhead. National security experts concluding a critical milestone has been reached.
Mating the two together, miniaturizing the nuclear warhead and putting it inside the ICBM so that it can be launched towards its destination. And if the North Koreans have indeed perfected that technology, that is a profound danger to the United States.
Kim Jong-un has made nuclear weapons his central focus. But as the threat escalates, there are voices urging caution, for fear the United States could stumble into war.
Let's don't put ourselves in a position where responding to President Trump, this young man in North Korea believes that he's about to be attacked and therefore he's going to attack first. We don't want war to begin by accident or miscalculation.
North Korea has paraded its conventional weapons for decades, but posing a credible nuclear threat to the United States entirely changes the military equation.
And Juliet joins us now together with our China correspondent Debbie Edward in Beijing. Juliet, perhaps we can speak to you first. As we said earlier, defence and intelligence chiefs have really been slightly dreading this moment. It looks like we're at it or close to it. What happens next, do you think?
We are at a crossroads. For many people here, the idea of a military strike against North Korea is unthinkable because of the bloodbath it would provoke. But equally, I think Americans would find it completely impossible to rule out doing something. So the question tonight is, if diplomatic overtures haven't worked, and that was obviously the favoured approach from the Secretary of State, then what can they do? Well, you heard from Donald Trump. He's absolutely directly told them what the response will be. He says that they will react with fury. But a military strike, a surgical military strike, isn't that easy. Most of the weapons in North Korea are thought to be underground, or they can be moved around quite easily on things called global launchers. So there's no guarantee that that strike would work. And what it would probably do is provoke an immediate response over the border into South Korea. And America has 30,000 servicemen and women stationed on the South Korean peninsula, so they would be a threat, as well as the Japanese and South Korean allies. So it's just not, there is no easy answer.
OK, Juliet, thank you very much. Debbie, when we talk about China and North Korea, we know that the Chinese sometimes get annoyed by the North Koreans, but it seems to outsiders like they've been reluctant to act for fear of something worse. Do you think this potentially changes that? What's your assessment of how China will respond?
Well, first of all, China will be trying to verify these claims being made by the United States. This is a development we knew the North Koreans were working towards, and China was not among those who dismissed the country's ability to reach this stage. What will be concerning the Chinese government greatly this morning is President Trump's response and the potential for military action. That is the kind of rhetoric, words akin to Kim Jong-un, that Beijing has been warning against. From China, what I think we will see is a more measured but severe response. This could be the point which China chokes off North Korea's oil supply and the trade of further vital supplies across the border. However, there is the potential that this could be what brings Kim Jong-un back round the negotiating table. What he wants is to put himself on a par with the United States. And if he has now developed the nuclear arsenal, which he believes puts him there, this could be what makes him entertain the possibility of talks. That is certainly what the people of South Korea and Japan will be hoping, where this week and in recent weeks they've been conducting drills preparing for an attack. They are now waking up this morning to the nightmare developments they hoped would never happen.
OK, Debbie, fascinating and disturbing in about equal measure, but thank you.
Right, not long before we came on air, President Trump aimed some pretty threatening remarks towards North Korea, ramping up the rhetoric, certainly. He was at an event where he was talking about drug addiction, ironically, and he was thrown a question about Korea.
North Korea's nuclear capabilities?
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. he has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
Well, fire and fury might turn into one of those memorable Trump phrases. Those remarks follow a report in the Washington Post today that said the US Defense Intelligence Agency thinks North Korea has developed small nuclear warheads that can fit into its ballistic missiles. If those assessments are right, they would imply Kim Jong-un has crossed a crucial threshold. I'm joined by Mark Fitzpatrick, who worked in the US Foreign Service for over 25 years as the executive director of the Non-Nuclear Proliferation Organization, IISS Americas. Mr. Fitzpatrick, you've heard the comments. What did you make of them?
This sounds like blustering. It sounds like the president doesn't exactly know how to respond, and when he doesn't know, he responds with bluster. The United States is not going to attack North Korea. North Korea is not going to attack the United States. But these kind of statements and the kind of statements that North Koreans make ratchet up the tension and could lead to misperceptions that could lead to war.
I mean, just tell us what North Korea, your assessment would be, what North Korea could do in terms of retaliation or preemptive strike if it wanted to, using nuclear warheads and missiles.
Right. Well, first of all, there's no doubt that North Korea has missiles that can reach anywhere in South Korea and Japan and hit U.S. bases there. And I believe that North Korea could mount a nuclear warhead on those missiles, and they would have no trouble delivering it. And that's been the situation for several years now. Most recently, of course, North Korea has tested missiles that could reach parts of the continental United States, but whether they are reliable enough, whether they could survive the intense friction of atmospheric reentry, that's not known. Right. But your question is, what could North Korea do? They could start a war, a conventional war that could soon escalate into a nuclear war. They could try to attack U.S. bases in Japan with a nuclear weapon and then threaten to attack the continental United States cities if the United States intervened.
And the Washington
That's the worrisome
Post,
scenario.
Right, and the Washington Post piece today seems to imply would get you more towards the continental US side of that, rather beyond the Japans and the South Koreas, right?
Yes, yes, that's a new assessment by apparently the Defense Intelligence Agency. And they said a couple of things that were worrisome. They said that North Korea could miniaturize warheads to fit their missiles. That's something that analysts have believed for some time. But they also said it could be done with the intercontinental ballistic missiles, which is an assessment that goes beyond what they've said before. And then they also said that North Korea might have up to 60 nuclear weapons. That's 3 times more than most analysts believe North Korea has. It sounds like worst case analysis, right, and that they're covering their bets.
Right. I mean, altogether, this is an issue that seems to have been moving much more quickly, both the North Korean nuclear program, and the way the dynamics of this are playing. It's just been moving much more quickly than anyone can remember, and one just wonders whether it is going to stabilize and quieten down, or whether it builds up to something.
It certainly has been moving more quickly. I mean, it's been moving more quickly in the last 2 years with North Korea's very robust, rapid pace of testing of missiles that's escalated this year. And now the rhetorical responses and the assessments. But, you know, so far this responses are rhetoric. And I think we have to step back a minute. Look at what Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said just a couple of days ago. Said United States is not the enemy of North Korea, has no intention of attacking, willing to talk to North Korea if it is willing to stand down. So the United States is not in a threatening posture here, but the problem is that when the North Koreans hear the kind of rhetoric of fire and fury, they might think that the United States is getting ready to attack, and they might preemptively attack on their own. That's a real concern.
Michael, thanks very much indeed. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I've been